So today I got again the Ruby card for this reading, and so it says, Ruby, it's time for me to shine. All right. So I'll just go through them and then I'll assimilate them in my brain. This is from the deck I'm making. So it's an upside down group of people. So seeing them from a different perspective and maybe, distancing yourself from them, definitely seeing the flip side of the purpose of your interaction, maybe, with fresh eyes, like the hangman, but like times, like there's 7 people here in this case. Right, and then we had the lovers. I'm just gonna take my time doing the reading, and I mean, it's free, so it's like, I'm not putting a lot of pressure on myself to be a great performer or, just letting it flow. Also, like I'm new to live streams, and I gathered that there's like a chat bar on the side that, like right now, I'm not engaging with that because I'm focusing on the reading, and sometimes, anyway, so I usually disable comments on my videos and don't really get into the chat aspect of it. Okay, so, but I can be reached for, through my email that I leave in the text box, and for, readings that can be customized to your budget and needs. I can do psychic readings, or what I prefer to do is a combination of healing session and a psychic reading, so that I'm not just seeing what's going on, I can fix it, which is nicer. It's, it's nice to have help sometimes. I get other healers to help me, and it's pretty interesting because everyone's completely different. So yeah, from whatever side of the fence you're on, it's a nice opportunity to learn. Okay. So I also pulled from the Mother Peace deck. I don't know why I'm so short of breath today, but the energy's shifted a bit since yesterday. So, so we have the 2 of Wands and the 6 of Discs. I mean, what I get from these 2 cards is that you have someone reminiscing times with, a partner, and then like thinking about how they're gonna have to like come back and take more disciplined care of their friend. Basically coming together, like thinking about all the healing times they had together, or thinking like, I need to come help soothe this person. And like, I'm taking this because this was, of the other decks, I had more than 1 card. And this one was the one that really wanted to come out of the Golden Universal Tarot just on its own. So I'm taking it like this is the reading about, divine lovers. I'm just gonna have like a quick look at the card. Yeah, so what I'm picking up right now is that like the figures, you know how they stand on the landscape, they seem disproportionately large to the land that they're standing on and the trees. And so I feel like maybe for both of them, it seems like a larger than life kind of relationship, and that people tend to take up like a lot of more space than they're used to, and from their partners they're used to, or it's just, and the fact that it's not only like an earth-based relationship, but it's stretching up all the way into spiritual as well. So it's connecting spiritual and earthly love, and it's larger than life. And they also feel like, I feel like when I look at these scrolling detail, that they feel like they messed up their communication in the past. That it was like sloppy work and didn't get their true message across, and then that created this confusion and disharmony between them. But there's still this like very strong clarity that exists, that can be, this confusion can be overcome easily with a better choice, more careful, deliberate, planned, ahead of time action that is very clear. Its purpose is clear, because like I think in the past there was like a wishy-washy vibe, and they weren't honoring their true nature, which is to be comfortable as themselves and being comfortable being larger than life and interacting with nature and with each other. And that goals, like what would seem like a difficult goal to most people, like climbing a mountain, is actually like a small, seems like a easy task for the two of them, because they are so capable and gifted. So yeah. And while I feel like the masculine character like doesn't really see the spiritual world as like real necessarily, because this is sort of more cartoonish than how they appear, but they're at least at the stages where they're like, okay, it exists, but I can't really see it myself, and to me it's just this like light cartoon concept. But yes, it exists, and yes, I have my flaws, I have my poor communication skills that create like gray smoke between us, but nonetheless, here I am, like flaws and all, will you accept me, kind of thing. So I feel like it's a positive message, you know. Yeah. Okay. Right. And also on the chat, like I noticed there were just a few comments, but one was asking if they could have like a card pulled just for them. And I know people do that, and they're more interactive with their chat feed and stuff, but it's not really my thing. And you know, if for some reason you do want a reading from me, like I can, depending on your request, I can make it reasonable, you know. So it just would be easier if you didn't have expectations in regards to me answering chats, or like, I don't know. I'm old school, right? Born in the 60s. Pardon my sniffling. Okay. So we have, oops, okay. Well, one of the decks I use is the Tarot of Sexual Magic, but I'll just sort of put my we're in a good place. So we have the Hangman is one of the cards, and okay, I'm just having a look. Right. So I just feel like the self-love and the radiance and health of the feminine aspect is really strong right now, and the masculine feels kind of like gross and unworthy, but still like he belongs, but he knows that he like maybe brought the worst possible behavior to the picture, but that he trusts that she's very wise, and is part of her loving is her forgiveness and a higher perspective that makes her see things differently than most people, whereas most people would just be like, ooh, you're gross, get away from me. She understands that there exists a real love between them, and there's like just a matter of a small shedding of a cocoon on the part of the masculine to become like an appropriate candidate for her. Okay, some of the pictures in this deck. All right, so we have the moon, and so we have like, I don't know how I can do this. Two couples celebrating and engaging under the moonlight in this deck, and so I mean, seems pretty clear that like this is taking place in one of the aspects of the atmosphere of what's going on, like in terms of this guy feeling like he's a bit nasty. There's also this aspect of things coming to light about his behavior, maybe with his buddies, like carrying on with women that just like are more inclined just to seek pleasure for pleasure's sake, and that with little emotional involvement. Excuse me for a second. And yeah, let me just look at the picture for a second. I feel like someone wants to know where I'm from. I have a Canadian accent, so that's probably a giveaway. Okay. So, yeah. So I feel like the women in this case, the sort of temporary partners, or it could be partners they have ongoing, but they're not like serious commitment type people. I feel like they have their eye on like the next prize, like they're enjoying this for now, but that they see like the deficit in the masculine for their purposes, and that they have like bigger fish to fry. And they're just sort of practicing on these people, or just getting temporary affection from them while they continue their quest for their own satisfaction of their material desires, and the type of celebration and like their loftiest goals are not like spiritual. It's more just how are people seeing them, like how's their Instagram holding up, and how are they are they desirable? Are they able to seduce? And yeah, but also in the picture is this, I don't know if that's a lobster or crab. Anyway, it's either a very healthy crab or a small lobster. Anyway, going after this pearl in a slightly open shell. So I kind of feel like his subconscious is aware that there's like a bigger prize than just rolling around with people and us, like a vain, unhealthy, I guess you could say, because I feel like there's that word comes up. Maybe because there's like drinking and stuff like that. And also like when I feel like when people are drinking in this case, their set of ethics is being like weirdly, like their friends are kind of crossing the line and getting them involved in stuff that's like kind of lower than they would want. Like, let's say they were completely sober, they wouldn't be cool with some of this stuff. So, so this is the sort of atmosphere in which the masculine is coming forward, being all kind of nasty and like, unappealing in terms of his behavior. But I feel like the feminine has like a higher perspective and is really trusting the divine in this case, that everything will get sorted out and divine justice will take care of whatever needs to be taken care of. And just trusting her vision, almost like she doesn't even need to like think about or look at the masculine, because she's just so trusting in her connection with spirit or messages that she gets. Then we also have the sun. So we have in this case, the couple embracing. There's like a overflowing basket of food, and there's roses and sunlight, and it's just the two of them. So I don't know why it's so hard for me to talk today. I think it's probably an indication that someone's feeling choked up. Okay, we'll go on a little bit. Is this it? Yeah. Okay, I'm just gonna look up the sun according to this deck. Okay, let's look a bit later on. Yeah. Fusion. Fascination. The eye is the mirror of the soul and creates with the magic of thought. If partners suggest happy images to each other, the couple reaches a state of union and a lasting splendor. Okay, so yeah, it's like the like, I mean, it's just cartoons. It's not like, oh my god. Anyway, so with the power of intention and focus and energy fused together, their combined will can create. We were getting into that yesterday. So I think like because this moon card with the kind of running around with other people and doing weird stuff is part of this trio of cards, the hangman, the moon, and the sun. It sort of seems like in order for the sun to work, there needs to be a reveal of like what took place in darkness, and that this guy needs to come clean about like just kind of not, whatever. Everybody goes through their phases of being like kind of nasty or whatever. But so it's like be honest about that. Be honest about everything, and then that will allow for this union to take place to create together. But until that happens, it's just like continuation of this being stuck in the hangman, in limbo, and continuing with the secret, like unfulfilling in the long run lifestyle. Okay. So now we go to the Hermetic Tarot. So we have the Death card. Upside down, Two of Pentacles. And I tested it a couple of times. I was like, do you really want to be upside down? So, yep. And then also the upside down Ace of Wands. So just like, in this case, the Hangman card, there's not like a passionate offering. So like today, it feels more like how the flames are going downward. It feels more like tears, or just yeah, and like upside down the wand is like it just seems kind of like a dead bone kind of thing. But at the same time, you have these like rays coming out. So I feel like despite their like giving up feeling, you know how like when you get to the bottom of the pit, you're by virtue of being at the bottom, you can only look up kind of thing. So I think like when this like bummer vibe reaches bottom, they'll be like, what am I doing? Like, this is stupid. Like, everything is great, and it can all be like on fire and beautiful if I just look up and get my act together and make an offering. Like, yes, it means you actually have to open your mouth. Yes, it means you have to walk from your place to their place. Like, yes, it involves effort, and it involves like getting through all your kind of BS confusion, and to try to find like I said before, a very clear message. Because what you don't want is for misunderstanding to take place any longer. And I mean, if you're not good at communicating, just start practicing now so you can get better. Gotta start sometime. I started to be a bit like teachery today, but like that's just the feeling from the cards today. Okay. So we have the Death card. I guess there's like a lot of release. So, okay, let's think for a second. I feel like some people are getting into like argumentative vibe today, but try not to do that. Let's say someone came forward in their own imperfect way and expressed something that was the truth, don't resist, don't be reactive. Like I say to some people, just because someone hits a tennis ball at you, like doesn't mean you have to hit it back on your side of the court. Like you can just let the ball come to a stop in the corner somewhere. Like, you don't have to be reactive just because someone made a gesture or said something. You can just go, okay, that's what they wanted to say. And now I'm going to balance that within all my perceptual abilities. Or I could take some time to myself and just let it simmer. Yeah, so please don't get into anger or be reactive if someone makes an effort in their own way, in their own imperfect way, to communicate something important. Because if someone didn't want to communicate with you, they just wouldn't bother. But if they bothered, they're at least like coming through a lot of awkward energies and stuff. To some people, it's not natural to tell the truth or reveal themselves because there's a lot of, many of us grew up in a hostile environment, and we, by necessity, learn protective behaviors. And in contradiction to that is like a loving relationship where you're expected to be, naked and truthful and in your power, and connecting the earth and the stars, everything at once. And it's like, okay, which is it? And so it's like finding a way to live by having your earthly life, having the best loving relationship you can have. And I know what I'm saying is like, I feel the struggle in that difference. But that's why it's good to have a strong connection with source, or like your, however you want to call that, God, or your higher self, or your guides, or whatever like higher intelligence is helping you along. So because like it's easier map for life to try to like live on earth, live in that open, loving manner too, because you have your like little cues that you get spiritually to help you along, and you don't feel a sense of being alone, and you also don't get that feeling of so, because sometimes if you're on a spiritual path, you can feel really separate or distant from everybody else because not everybody's into that. And it can feel like it's creating distance between you and other people, and then you think that's bad or something. But ideally, like, we each stand in our own kingdom and relate to each other in ways that are like of a higher consciousness that dictate our behavior to be like blending well together. It's like a tall order if you're just starting, but it's well worth the effort. I hope what I'm saying is making some kind of sense. And I also apologize that I tend to mumble a lot, but if I keep making videos, I will probably speak more clearly in time. Okay, so we have the death card. Yeah, just when I look at this, it's like it just feels like an end to like some, like maybe the masculine is looking back at all his life and who's around him and what he's been up to and what they present to him. And it's it just looks like kind of a bunch of random It's sort of like looking through an old Mad magazine. It's like, okay, like I guess maybe that's funny, or it's kind of funny, but it's kind of violent, or it's like maybe it's not funny. It's just kind of like whatever. So it's kind of barren and too busy and stuff. And so maybe it's time, maybe it's okay to like let some of these things go. And maybe it's like just too much to think about. Like, you don't have to go into every detail, like what all of your friends or family are trying to express to you. It's like they're just living their own kind of hallucination in the same time or in the same space as me. And okay, like that's how you feel, But once you start having a more spiritual perception of things, like it's like goes from black and white to HD color, and you're just like, it's harder to dialogue with people who have simplistic views. So it's just kind of like you don't need to like fight with people or try to convince them like, oh, there's such a great spiritual life, or like this is how I feel, or like, oh, this person's so great, but they just don't see it. And it's like, well, you don't have to spend any time trying to convince anybody why the person you love or your passion in life, like you don't need to have other people validate it, especially if they're not ascending. And not everybody's on the same schedule, and so it might take some people like 2 more lifetimes to even want to go there, So like don't hold your breath on all these like random details that people present to you. Don't let them dictate your life when like your life isn't just the material world. It's like you're a giant that is connecting heaven and earth, bringing heaven to earth through this union of being completely yourself and unashamed and clear, so that you can take on tasks together that would seem huge to some, but will be like super easy for you guys together and surrounded in sunlight and divine assistance. So it's not too shabby. Okay. So, and then let's say you get past your like defeated feeling and realize like, oh, I do want to make an offer. I do feel passionate, and I don't need to be afraid, and I don't need to be burdened by everyone's input in my life about what I should be doing and whatever. Because acting this way is depriving me of my material abundance. And you might find that like when you're not following your path, when you're not with the right person, you might have some hardships and delays and people misunderstanding you, and just like no matter what kind of efforts you put forth, it seems like the bucket's always being overturned, and you can't even save a drop because the bucket's always in the upside down position. And so you feel like people don't perceive you properly, and that you're just like, it's frustrating life of upended efforts. But you can see that there's so much abundance available, but it's like you can't have it right now. But you need to change these behaviors, like make your offer, stop worrying about what everybody else has to say, so that you can have your 10 of cups, so that all the cups are able to hold all the prosperity and love and different kinds of abundance that are available when you're on the right path. Okay. Yeah, so just to recap the cards I addressed a long time ago, this reading, is about someone who's contemplating someone they know that they want to come back and have a healing partnership with, and that it is time for you to shine and to be truthful about what happened in darkness, so that you can get out of this dreamy mode of just like thinking about each other separately, and so you don't have to feel creepy anymore, because honesty is like the telling the truth. While it may seem really hard for some people, is like having a cosmic shower that washes away all the crap. And you just have to do it. I know when people tell me things that they might not wish to tell me, but that are true, like I always feel this huge resurgence of energy and health. Even if it's like so-called bad news, it always feels right. And I always try to encourage people just to be 100% truthful, because when you don't tell the truth, or when you lie to someone, it can make you like physically ill, because there's a disconnect or like a distortion of energy that happens between what you're saying and the truth. And your body, like it's like short-circuiting your body, and it causes disease. So it's like you're not doing anyone any favors by being like, oh, well, if I told them this, like it would make things worse. It's like, no, just tell the truth and let people get on with their lives, instead of keeping them like prisoners to your desire not to be found out, or your weird concept of what you think is ideal, because what you think is ideal perhaps isn't what other people think is. And if you're trapping someone by leading them on and being dishonest, then they can't go on and have the life of their dreams. Like, do you think you're like their only option in the world? Like, especially if you're not dedicated to them, like the kindest thing you could possibly do is to just be honest and let them know the lay of the land, so they can just proceed with confidence. So, yeah, I'm a truth promoter. Okay. And also, if you just tell the truth, it's like there's no burden to you. It's just like, okay, well, on to the next thing, instead of just constantly trying to measure your words, or trying to like go weird thief in the night, like trying to, whatever, whatever people do when they lie. That stuff is what I'm trying to say. Okay, well, yeah, and then there was this card too, where we're seeing our group of friends or family, whoever is like being sort of